So, you are looking to play Zoro and OP05? The deck is a fine choice when it comes to underdog decks. You'll regularly see it spike big events and it will continue to shine well into OP06. Zoro has a leader ability that grants 1000 power to all characters you control as long there is a Don under him. Because of this, the playstyle of Zoro is aggro. The deck I personally think is the most suited for the OP05 meta is Straw Hat Zoro, which is the deck that is currently shown on screen. Because this deck has a very strong early game and is easier to fetch finishers with searches like Nami. While other top decks like Purple Luffy, Enel and Sakazuki are spending 2 to 3 turns to set up, Straw Hat Zoro is already establishing a board state on turn 1. With plenty of 3000 power characters in the game at a mere 1 done, you can play a bunch of them and then swing for 5000 or 6000 power several times in a follow-up turn. While it's true that other decks have access to easy removal, the early swings force your opponent to waste cards through countering much earlier than they normally would, and then searches like Nami, Curly the Dan and Buggy help us fetch more characters and threats to keep our hands full of option to either continue the aggro plan or allowing us to switch to a more defensive playstyle in the mid or late game so we can set up a big finisher. So that brings us to the 3-cast Roronoa Zoro Rush character. This one has 5000 power, it only costs 3, which is already great value by itself, but the Rush is just an insane bonus. Getting this character on the field on turn 2 can basically get a free swing, and usually an additional swing in the follow-up turn. On turn 3 and onwards, it's sometimes wise to keep it in your hand for the perfect moment that you can play it out of nowhere, load it up with a bunch of Don and then swing for 7 or 8k. Most meta decks you'll face run blockers. Nico Robin can remove blockers like Rebecca, and Jet Pistol can remove problematic cards in general. If you're facing cards that are a little bit high on power that Nico Robin cannot remove them, you can utilize cards like Otama and Gordon to lower the power a bit, or the new Fire Fist event card. On top of that, Fire Fist becomes a removal card on its own when you're under 2 life. It can debuff a character by 4000 power and then it can knock out a character that has 0 power. Jet Pistol and Fire Fist also activate as a trigger, which is perfect because then you don't have to pay for that Don cost. Diabol Jambe is a tool you normally use to bypass blockers, but as a trigger it can also knock out a 3 or less cost blocker. For the most part, this trigger is only useful against Enel decks if they run the Big Mom package with a 3-cost Brûlée. As additional block evasion, we have a 5-cost Luffy that when it has 2 Don attached to it, it cannot be blocked by blockers. So at a mere 7 Don, you can swing with an unblockable 8000 power threat on demand. Makino and Magra help to buff other characters by 3000 power. Brook on play lets you attach 2 of your rested Dons to either one of your characters or your leader, so this pretty much pays for itself. Sanji can buff itself by 2000 power by putting the top card of your life into your hand and then attaches 2 rested Dons to itself, so this is a perfect card to play on turn 2 if you're going first, or turn 1 if you're forced to go second. Brook, Sanji and Makina also plus 2000 counters, so a playset of each of these helps you to have at least 12 2000 power counters in the deck. You can add some Otamas to the deck as well as some additional 2000 power counters if need be. Radical Beam and Guard Point allow you to manipulate the endgame a little bit, since these are 4k and 3k counters at just a mere 1 Don cost, and since these have an activated trigger ability that can buff your Zoro by 1000 until the end of turn, this can swing games back into your favor if you are about to lose. There are other events cards you could run in Zoro, so feel free to experiment. For the most part, you want to use your counters to keep your characters alive rather than stopping Zoro from taking damage, because the more characters you have alive, the more value you get out of Zoro's leader ability after all. Other decks, when they get into the 8 or 10 Don range, they can usually outvalue you, so you want to play a risky game plan of taking damage early and keep on pressuring the opponent into turn 3 and 4 to hopefully close out the game at that point. All in all, the deck is a decent matchup against most of the meta decks out there. It is a little bit tough against the Enel decks because of their triggers and their continuous life regeneration, but against Sakazuki and Purple Luffy you will usually have a good time. Enel has a lot of tricks that make it hard for Zoro to succeed though, especially when the deck is at 2 life or less. If you're curious what kind of tricks Enel has, I do have an Enel guide on my channel as well that you can check out. It's just a couple of minutes long, but then you at least have an idea what Enel does and what you need to be looking out for. If today's video was useful to you, please let me know by leaving a comment down below and liking the video, as well as hitting that subscribe button. Also, a big thank you to everyone that supports me over on patreon.com/KuganiGaming. If you'd like to see your name at the end of my videos in a future video, you can always check out my plans over there. I offer coaching and deck help there as well. Thank you for sticking until the end of the video. I hope you'll have fun playing the deck and make those top meta decks sweat. Also, while you're here, why not check out one of these two videos?